Hi everybody, welcome back to Carnation Crafts TV. We've had a couple of hours off and caught up and a bit of a gossip, and as you do.
A shower.
And a shower. Well, not
all of us.
Not all of us at the same time.
Right, that's how vicious rumours get started, Dave.
We're very good friends, but not that close. Great to have your company, and it is the time of the month that I look forward to every single month, where we launch a brand new collection, new and exclusive to us at Carnation Crafts TV. And whether you're watching us on Facebook, whether you're watching us on YouTube or on the website carnationcrafts.co.uk, you're more than welcome. We'd love to hear from you. Get in touch, especially via Facebook or YouTube. Send us a message. We asked you earlier on, we did a 9 o'clock show this morning. We asked you, do you prefer the earlier mornings or do you prefer a certain time? Let us know. If you prefer 9 a.m, if you prefer 10 a.m. or whatever, we'll take that all on board and have a little look and see what response we get. Now, we've got a different type of collection for you today, in that sadly all of us at some point need to make a card with sympathy. Well, we've been told by lots of you that is the hardest card to make, the hardest card to get right, but it's the most important card to get right without a shadow of a doubt. Now, not all of these themes in this collection are sympathy, but there are some there for you. The rest of it is generic and can be used, for any type of card making at all. This is called our Held in Our Hearts collection, and it proved hugely popular on the little tease we had yesterday with Carla, and also on our first show this morning at 9 o'clock. You've got a collection here, but this is only part of it. We do have the matting and layering and the nesting dies that work with it beautifully available as a separate item, but I know a lot of you went for both earlier on because you could see how well they all work together. So this is your Held in Our Hearts collection. You've got your wonderful wing beat over here. That's what that one's called, with that lovely dove. Now that obviously could be a symbol of sympathy. It could also be a symbol of togetherness, marriage, that sort of thing. Often doves are released at weddings. So that's the first one. In the middle, you've got your heart of the collection, as it were. This is the hourglass shaped card. It's going to make your card blank for you. It's amazing. Not one die, but numerous dies in there, and we'll show you how it can look in a minute. We'll go through the boards. Now the bloom butterflies that we've got here for you, when I looked at them I thought, oh, okay, well, I've seen butterfly dies before, but why are these different? Why are they special? Can I just show you this card? And I think this sums it up, actually. Look at what you can do with those bloom butterflies. You've actually got templates on our website with the vignettes, with the artwork that you can print off, that show you exactly where to place the butterflies to create wonderful finished cards like this. Isn't that just amazing? I mean, I'd buy this collection just to be able to do that, to be honest with you. Then we've got, of course, our beautiful floral charms. Now, they've got little hoops on them, so you can actually hang them on the strips if you want to, or you can link them together as well. So a charm bracelet idea, but in your card, which is very, very unusual and very different. Down the bottom, we've then got our two sympathy sentiments. You've got your heartfelt sympathy, and you've got your wonderful life. Celebrating a wonderful life is a lovely sentiment to put on a card. Then you've got your teardrop florals, which are very generic, and you've got the broken heart. Now, don't think broken heart, oh, what a shame. Basically, it's a heart that you can actually split into two, and one half of the heart could go on one card to one person, the other half of the heart could go on the other card to the other person. When they meet, the two hearts meet up. So that is our main collection, 221 101. It is $99.99, so you're saving nearly £36 off the price, which is pretty good, very good actually. And it's also available with PayPal Pay in 3 and also Clear Pay, which can be up to 4 interest-free payments. But what most of you, or many of you, did in the earlier show and yesterday was added these into the equation as well. Now, they've been designed to go with this brilliantly, but they can be bought separately. We realise everybody's budget is different, but I've never seen nesting dies like these before, because they've got the Hessian edge. Really lovely, really different. I mean, it could, if you cut it out of green cardstock, look a bit like pine needles, maybe for a Christmas card. It could look like lace if you did it in white card. If you did it in craft card, it would look like Hessian or burlap. But you're getting all the different shapes. You get your diamonds, your rectangles, your circles, your ovals, your squares. This texture plate, when you look at the vignettes and print the vignettes off the artwork, that really does look like fabric. It's incredible. And then you've got your Hessian edge DL down the end there. So that is $129.99. And just when you thought, you've got all the nesting dies possible to ever want, well, now you've got these, which are very different indeed. $129.99, free P&P if you're watching us in the UK and you're spending over £50 or more. And then the ultimate add-on, if you can run to all three of the things, is your Held in Our Hearts Perfect Papers. And this is cardstock, not paper. 300 GSM. The palette of colour here is just gorgeous, and it's going to go with all of the artwork that you're printing off today free of charge from carnationcrafts.co.uk. 48 A4 sheets, 6 colours, 8 of each. Now, if you wanted to go for all three, you cherry pick what you want. You know what you want. But if you go for all three, this is what your basket will look like. You've got $99.99 for the Held in Our Hearts, $129.99 for the Hessian Edge, and then you've got $14.99 for the Perfect Papers. But there's one important item that I've got to tell you about. We've got a discount code. Now, if you put in HIOH10, okay, HIOH, all letters, and then number 10, you'll get 10% off whatever you're purchasing, okay? So £24.50 comes off the 244.97, and it's free shipping, free postage, £220 and 47 pence, which you can either put on a card now or spread over PayPal or ClearPay. Choice is yours, but it's there for you, and proving very, very popular. Lovely Taz and Carla in the studio today, as they always are. Feel fresher after your shower?
I feel much fresher. I was having a hot flush in the earlier show and I felt a little bit overwhelmed, so I went and got showered between shows and now I feel better.
Good.
Karen's just saying hi again. Ordered all the dyes in the break, and now how do I tell the hubby? You don't.
We won't say
about it. We don't say. So we're going to have a look at this collection. I've got all the boards in front of me, and we're going to go through them all so you can see what we're getting. This is an extraordinary collection. I say that pretty much every time Carnation brings one. But not because it's just hyperbole, but actually because every time they go above and beyond so that we as crafters get the best for our money, and also so that we get the best for our crafting going forward. This is the beautiful Hourglass card shape, and it is just stunning. So we have the large die at the bottom, which you can see in red here. That's your base card. Then you've got your mats and layers, your main filigree panel, which is this. This is what we're looking at here. And then you get all the layers on top to create those gorgeous sort of teardrop shapes that come. And remember, all of those can be used as kind of separate little nested, so we can use the teardrop shape to make apertures in all of our different cards as well. It doesn't just stick to one theme. If you want to see that in its full sort of die form, that's exactly what you're getting. Every single line there is in fact a die, so it builds up your complete collection. And everything is just extraordinary with how we can use it.
What sort of mind creates these images and these shapes? They're so different, so distinctive. I love them.
Nick, who is our creative director and who is a very, very talented artist. He's just super clever at what he does. There is a team of creatives that work with him, but Nick is the head honcho with that. He's also a little weirdo, but we don't tell him that. So you've got this lovely hourglass shape, like I say. And so moving on from there, we have got your gorgeous floral charms. These are so pretty. They're so unusual. So they work like a charm, as if it was sort of a charm bracelet, so to speak. So where you see the little hoops, they can all interlock together. You also have this strip.
I wasn't sure what that was when I saw it earlier.
Yeah, absolutely. It's brilliant. So you can make all your corners with these. But where you've got this edge, this is not free. It's not a free edge. It's just one solid piece. But at the top, it is a free edge. So I can start to weave in and out with these, and I can create this gorgeous woven piece, and I can use that down the side and across. I can use it as a diagonal with two coming down or going up. Either way, we can create all of these different scenes with it, and we can hang the charms from the fronds.
And there's even artwork for that as well.
Yep,
the vignette
artwork
for that. Print it all off right now. It's all free on our website, carnationcrafts.co.uk. And I just love the fact you can sit there this afternoon, look at all the wonderful art, knowing that your dies have been dispatched. And that's what happens. As soon as you purchase an order direct from us like this, it gets picked, it gets packed, and it gets shipped straight away. Many of you will actually get your order probably tomorrow, postage depending. We can't control the postage, but certainly we can get it in the post same day, usually within maybe minutes or an hour at the outside.
I mean, as soon as your order hits Carnation, so to speak, they start packing it. It's instant. They're so good at what they do.
Oh, I've been in the office and I've seen them.
Miss Taz has seen them. I have as well. They're crazy.
Like Santa's little helpers.
It's just
Dashing
they're
around.
so good at what they do. It's so efficient and so well driven. So it's actually a real pleasure to go in there and watch it all happen and come together, because it's kind of not what you think it is, but it's so good. So on here we've got your gorgeous dove, and just how pretty is that? All the cut line detail here so that we can really start to sculpt if you want to. Again, the same with the wings. This is all pipped. Now I don't know how well you can see it there, but there's a pip there and a pip there.
Yep.
That means I can separate the two wings and I can shape them individually. And then this piece, the corner piece, that is all held together as well by these little pips, so we can snip that away, use the dove independently and use that corner element separately. So don't throw those away. If you cut it away and you're using the dove, don't throw those corner elements away, because we can use them in such gorgeous ways. I'm going to be demoing with this predominantly today in this show, because obviously we didn't use it this morning. I do want you to see the dove. It is incredible. It's so beautiful. Sympathy cards are the hardest ones that we make and the most poignant, and they're probably the most important cards that we will ever make as crafters, and that's why this collection is so important.
Linda Wilson, just say hi to Linda. She says any time is good for me. Fantastic, that's good to know. And let us know, do you prefer the early mornings? Do you prefer lunchtime? What time of day do you like us to do the shows? Also, Dave, Carla and Taz, this is Michaela. She says, you brighten up my day, sat working with you on in the background. My order is already on its way. See, it's that quick.
Always nice to know. I don't know if we brighten people's day or you know, frighten it, but one way or another we're here. We've got this gorgeous broken heart here, and you've got this little crease down the side. You can just see it. Now, it's not obvious when that's used as one main piece. It does just look like a love heart with that beautiful detailing on it. It's kind of like a locket, isn't it? It's got that sense of a locket to it. But on there, you've got this tiny little one as well that can be sat in the middle. However, if we take the two edges of that and pull it together, you get that sort of cracked heart in the centre, which is so precious and so sweet. Again, you could separate them. They are held with pip marks, and as Dave said, you know, one for each person.
Did you ever have the heart pendant, you know, in jewellery, where you split half? Oh, you got it?
Oh no, it's not the half one, but I have got a little heart locket on my.
I love that idea though. When I was younger,
bracelet.
I remember a friend of mine, she wore half the heart, and her other half wore the other half heart, which was really
that's
sweet.
so sweet.
Yeah.
I think that's really cute. I've lost, I did have a little sewing machine on here, and I've lost it, which is very sad, but I had a really beautiful silver little sewing machine on here. You've got the white feather here as well. Feathers important, right? You know, loved ones, when feathers appear, loved ones are near. It's a really beautiful sentiment, and I was saying yesterday in the Facebook Live, I always look for white feathers. I just find them very poignant, very symbolic. Then we've got this explosion. You can see how big this collection is. It's enormous. I think it's maybe one of their biggest.
And this doesn't have to be sympathy. This could be for anything.
No. Nothing that you've seen so far is specifically designed for sympathy at all. Obviously, the love heart, which has got that broken piece in the centre, has got that element to it, but it doesn't have to be used in that way. And none of this is specific to sympathy. These flowers fit perfectly within these squares, so you can build up those decoupage elements in the centre. These look beautiful with the sentiment going across, so you've just got that flourish that comes out of the side, and then you've got these ones which we were saying this morning would make beautiful snowflakes if you cut them out in the golds, in the mirror cards, in your whites, in your vellums. They're really, really pretty snowflakes. You've got the smaller flowers which sit on top of these ones, and then you've got your little tuck-ins which we can use to create those bigger spances, and they just look so pretty, and the two colourways as well.
Both colourways are on the vignettes, are they?
Yes.
Okay.
So the vignettes, when Dave's talking about vignettes, we're talking about the artwork that Carnation Crafts produce in order for you to be able to make the cards in the way that you see the vignettes on here, or the artwork on here. And to get those, you go to the Carnation Crafts website, which is www.carnationcrafts.co.uk. You go to downloads and you go to free downloads. On the right hand side, it does say collections, and there's a little search box for you, and you can type into that. And for this one, you would put held in our hearts collection and click it, and a load of vignettes will come up, a load of artwork will come up.
And
so you've got the
papers.
Yeah, inserts which are free, backing papers which are free, and you've got all the vignettes. One of them will have, it will say the main collection. And you put all of those into your basket and you check out, and you can check out for free because they're all free. When you get them onto your computer, you open them up, preferably with Adobe, and you print them. Print them at 100% or at actual size if you possibly can, and they will fit the dies that you have then got, you know, the dies that you've got in your collection, and they'll go on top. Some of them have got a black line down the centre of them, some don't. So Carnation give you the option as to whether to have a single-sided vignette or whether to have a mirrored vignette. Single-sided is the standard that you're used to, where you have colour on one side and white on the back. A mirrored vignette is actually you fold it on that black line, you spray glue the inside, pop a die on top and put it through your machine, and when it comes out you have the image both on the front and the reverse. Now the reason that's important is because when you buy a die, you now get double for your money, because if you've got something that is facing over to the right hand side, if you can flip it it then faces over to the left hand side, so you're getting both colourways, both images for your money.
Like this. If I just show you this card from Sue Dalrymple, look, you've got the dove that we've already shown you, but it was pointing one way. When you've got the mirrored vignettes, it's now going left and it's now going right. And that's what she's been able to achieve at the bottom of this card here. And look again at these butterflies. Aren't they just absolutely incredible? This is what makes me want the collection.
It's funny, isn't it? Because I always get excited when I see Carnation's collections, and the same as any other human being, you know, there are certain ones that just make your heart sing, aren't there? And when I saw this one, I was like, okay, it's sympathy. There's always a little bit of a point in me where I'm like, ooh, you know, it's always hard to do sympathy cards. What I love is that they didn't just go in for the full, what's the word I'm looking for? Maudlin, I suppose. Somber, that they kept it to the usual Carnation standard of being very gentle, very elegant, very classy, with the touches that we need to create beautiful sympathy cards. So these are the butterflies that Dave was just talking about. So you'll see the dies as such there. They're a gradient. So you on the vignettes, the artwork that we get, you've got this lighter blue, a mid blue, and the darker blue, and then that's the same with the sandstone colour and that rose blush colour as well. Why are they different to other butterflies? Well, they're designed,
oh wow,
for you to just create. And what they've done is when you download these vignettes, you'll also get these. They'll be A4, obviously, they're not this tiny, but you get these and you can print them out, and it's a template. Now, if you want to create an A4 card, what you can do is print that out in A4 and use that as one of your back-in papers and just follow the butterflies.
Well, that's what Sue's done with this card. Yeah. If I just show you, I don't know if we can get in close on this, but if I just literally lift up one of the wings of the butterfly, you can see there's a very faint printed butterfly underneath the wing. So that's the template. It shows you exactly where to put the butterfly. And of course, when you put it on there, it covers it up. So really clever.
Really simple, really easy to do. And it means you can't go wrong. You're guided through that whole process. But more importantly, you can completely freestyle and do whatever you like with them. So you can create gorgeous shapes yourself. You can start to sort of play with the idea of gradient and how that gradient works, and do lots of different things. I'm trying to think of, if you were to do, so we've had very large butterflies from Carnation before. If you were to cut one of those and put it into the corner and then have the little spread coming out of all the little ones in that gradient, would just be super pretty.
I'd love that on my wall in a picture frame.
Yeah, really gorgeous, right?
Yeah.
They'll make great box frames, these, if you put them in like shadow boxes. So the last thing that we'll show you are the two sentiments, and this one is obviously what we would expect for a sympathy card, which is with heartfelt sympathy, and it is super pretty. It's got that back-in layer as well, so you get your mats and layers and your base shape going through with the obvious die there with heartfelt sympathy, which I love. I love the font. I love the fact that they kept it big, that they didn't try and diminish it to anything smaller. But my favourite of the two,
yeah,
is celebrating a wonderful life. You know, I actually had my own bad news between shows, funnily enough, regarding sympathy cards as such, or sympathy in that sense, didn't we? So even more poignant right now than it was this morning, and that's exactly the sentiment that we need.
And I mean, that's what we should be doing, isn't it? Celebrating someone's life.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a sad time for everybody, but celebrating the good times and remembering the good times, I can't think of a better sentiment than that, to be honest.
And your friends are people that we do celebrate, you know, and those lives that have sort of been, and we want to celebrate them, don't we? Because yes, of course, it's incredibly sad, but those people should be celebrated for what they represented and what they put into the world.
So that is our Held in Your Hands, or Held in Our Hearts, sorry, Held in Our Hearts collection. That is it for $99.99. That may be all you want, that's absolutely fine. That's why we've done it in 2 sets. But ultimately, the gang at Carnation Crafts have put this nesting set together as well. And it just lends itself so beautifully with this collection. So many of you are adding this to your order to make up the complete collection, basically. 221110. $129.99, and you're actually getting 45 dies, and you can see the size of some of them. You've got the smallest ones right the way up to the largest, but to have that fantastic Hessian edge going around it is something very, very unique, very different. And this over here, this is actually a texture plate. Now it gives you the look and feel of woven fabric. And there's even, believe it or not, the artwork for these frames, of course, on our website as well, which you can print off too. And when you do die cut what you've printed, it looks like real fabric on a card. It's quite amazing. So this together will be $129.99 with your discount code. Remember, HIOH10. That's what you need. So it's H, letter I, O, and H, and then 10 numbers. That will give you 10% off that. So you'll get £13 off that price if you buy just that on its own, okay? If you buy them both together, you'll get, of course, more off. And if you add the perfect papers in, happy days, you get the full 3 sets for you and maximum discount. So that'll be $24.50 you'll save if you buy all of them. And there is that option of spreading the cost interest-free if you want to, with either ClearPay or with PayPal Pay in 3. And actually talking about the one that actually looks like, and from all intents and purposes, you've got a sheet of kind of fabric in front of you.
I know, it looks like it, doesn't it? It's so pretty. It's so clever how they've done it. The texture, the design, the colour, everything to form this Hessian piece. And it is a Hessian plate. Now you've got your main layer here, which can make a backing card, and then you've got a piece that you could put a coloured backing on, a mat if you like, and then obviously you've got your final plate. Now the reason this one is so important and I love it is, first of all, just as it is as the background for a card, it's incredible. It's perfect. For those of you who want to know the size of the Hessian plate, it is 20 centimetres, which I believe is 8 inches by 14, and that will work for all your pieces. You can use that as a background, or you can use it to cut your other dies into to create different shapes.
A lot of people struggle with sticking anything to fabric.
Yes.
Can be a bit tricky. You haven't got that problem with this. This is paper or card at the end of the day, but it looks like fabric, so much more user-friendly.
Well, I think it works perfectly, doesn't it, for all of our cards, but more importantly as well, it's working for mixed media projects that we're doing. So all of your backings for scrapbooking, anything like that, because it's a big size. You know, we're not talking about a small piece that can be added to. We have got a full surface to work with on that, which I love. But the gorgeous, gorgeous nested. And so this collection that you've seen today, where I've shown you the other boards and then where I'm showing you these, this is essentially one full collection. They work together. They were designed to work together. Obviously, with prices being where they are at the moment, Carnation wanted to give people the option. So they have broken it into 2 smaller ones, which I appreciate massively. So thank you to the guys at Carnation. But the nested dies, they're always going to be so important, aren't they? I talk to you all the time about nested dies, about how important they are to me as a crafter, just because it's everything I need for my base cards, for my mats, my layers, my sentiments. It's also everything I need in order to start changing the way that I make cards, so I can use different gatefolds, I can do easels, I can do all kinds of things with them.
But those little tiny spikes on the edges all the way around them, I mean, they could look like pine needles if you did them in green. If you did them in craft card, it would actually look like fabric, frayed fabric. So it can, you can really create lots of wonderful effects with these.
Yeah, I mean, doing it obviously in your mirror cards, your vellums, all of those, I mean, they would be so beautiful in vellums. But even down to things like acetate, especially if it's acetate that we can print on, because you would be able to get that beautiful sort of sheen. So if you were to cut one of these in acetate and then print roses or something like that on to give it that sort of shabby edge feel, just beautiful, right? So that's your diamond. Then you've got your DL, which is obviously the much taller of them all. We use DLs all the time, don't we? They're such a popular shape. For good reason. They're just a nice way of crafting. And then especially with the doves, if you've got a dove on either side of those, they look stunning. Then we've got your rectangles, and obviously we go from the very big to the very small. We can use that as an aperture, or we can layer them up. It depends which way you want to craft. We can use them independently. All of those things are important when we talk about nesteds. So that's your rectangle. My favourite of all is the circle.
I can see why you like that one.
It's just pleasing. There's just something about it. It's aesthetically pleasing. So you've got all of your layers coming through.
I mean, that could be an exploding firework, couldn't it? Or it could be rays of sun or something like that.
Well, I think if you were to take, say, the outer 3 layers and layer those up and then place a sentiment in the middle and a floral or something like that with some blooms coming out, just crazy gorgeous.
I'll tell you what, great for making rosettes.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're cutting a circle and you're using this as your main card shape, so the large one at the bottom, if you decide to use that as your card shape, just remember that when you cut it twice, the one on the back of your card shape will just need to have a snip taken across the edge so that it will stand, because obviously if it's a circle, it's going to roll around a little bit like myself sometimes. Then you've got your squares that come forward. Again, super important, especially these ones where we're using them for sentiments. So if you're to make a large stopper, not a stopper, sorry, actually they're gorgeous for stoppers for easels, but if you were to make a large sentiment with mats and layers and you're stamping, these are brilliant, absolutely gorgeous, so really sweet, and they will sit in the middle of a card in the most gorgeous way. And it's a showstopper, isn't it? On their own, that's why these nested are so important. Often when we get nested dies, they're our staples. Carnation don't do that. They do them so that the actual nested dies are the showstoppers as well. It's just how you choose to craft with them. And the last one in this collection are the ovals, which are just so pretty, so pretty. Ovals probably always going to give you the most diversity because you can have them portrait or landscape and play with them in different ways.
Now, just in case you didn't realise that Carnation actually had their own TV channel, we've been going now for about 7 or 8 months, and once a month we bring you a new and exclusive launch that will not be seen anywhere else for quite some time, and this is it. So they get me in to help launch it with Carla and Taz once a month. The days do vary, but it's usually beginning of the month somewhere, and it's just so lovely to have something that's exclusive. So if you're watching us for the very first time, didn't realise that Carnation Crafts has its own TV channel, we're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, and we're also on the website, of course, carnationcrafts.co.uk. But this is your opportunity to get something new ahead of anybody else. Remember, you make your purchase today, whether it be the held in the hands, or held in your heart, or whether you're going to go for the Hessian edge nestings, or you're going to go for all of it. Whichever you choose, it will be picked and packed right now, right this second that you order. You'll get a confirmation email to say that it's been sorted and it's been dispatched, and you normally get it, depending on the postage situation, obviously, that varies from time to time, but you'll hopefully get it, if not tomorrow, the day after. Many of you maybe even get it tomorrow, so it's really exciting. If you're watching us in the United States, by the way, it's free P&P in the UK, for those of you that are spending over £50. In the US, if you buy the main collection, that will be $4.95. If you're going for your perfect papers or something that's a little bit heavier, it's a maximum postage or shipping and handling of $14.95 if you're watching us in America. And we had loads of people watching us in the States earlier, which surprised me at 9 o'clock, because that would be about in the middle of the night, really, wouldn't it?
I don't know the things. There's different
It depends,
time zones.
East Coast, West Coast, whatever, but certainly, yeah, that would have been in the middle of the night. So great to know, wherever around the world you're watching, great to know that you're there. We're here keeping you company. We've got another show at 2 o'clock this afternoon as well. But should we do a demo?
Let's have a look at that dove and see how it comes together in the cards that we're making, because it's super, super pretty, perfect for sympathy cards. So I'm going to use the Hourglass card shape for this one so that you can see how that works. The next demo that we use, I will also be using the Hourglass card shape, but I'm also going to bring it in with the Hessian so you can see the two working together, because they do work symbiotically. And that's important to know. So we've got our large base card cut here. We've got the scoring point at 1/2 inch, and I've got my red liner tape just going across, if I can get hold of it. There we go. Now, again, same as always, for those of you who are brand new to card making, take your back piece, pull that back towards your body so that it stays out of the way of anything else. Put those two together, shuffle them so you know they're in the right place, butt them up against something, lay it down. Once you know it's straight, then commit.
Perfect.
And that gives you the perfect set, so you know it's all done in the right way. Now, I've used my mats and layers here. You all know me. You know I love my big chunky cards. But let's take it down a little stroke just for the mats and layers so that they're closer to each other. So that when we start to build up with foam tape on the top layers, what we're getting is that massive shadow play just on those elements. So I've got a 1mm foam tape on here. And I'm just going to take and pull that back just to that edge.
Because that's important. Foam tape does vary in depth, so if you don't want to be, making a card that's too chunky, it's going to go in the post or an envelope or something, get the thinner tape.
Well, for me, it's less about the postage, although that obviously will matter, but more about the aesthetic, because we get a different look.
Yeah.
Depending which foam tape we use. It's a little bit like adhesive, you're looking at a different function, and the function of the foam tape is different every time you use it. So I've said this before, there's a really valuable exercise in making the same card twice, but doing it with different levels of foam tape to see
which you prefer.
Yeah, see which you prefer and see why. Because when you start looking at it and you start experimenting, you can start to see, well, I like the shadow here, but I didn't like the shadow here. So you get to start sort of understanding your own style, I think, because we craft so differently, don't we? It's part of the process of learning how to craft is that we craft differently. Now, I've got a little bit of glue stuck on that. I do apologise. I'm going to cover it, so I'm not too worried, but it is there.
I'll let you
Now,
off.
I say we're going into 1mm foam tape here. So obviously it's me and you wouldn't expect me to stick to those rules. So now we're going in with 5mm.
Oh,
So I'm skipping the 3 out altogether. What I'm doing is keeping those low, and now I'm raising up and throwing it about apparently. So I'm just going to take these off.
I mean, you've even got vignettes for that wonderful frame. I mean, a lot of companies don't bother to give you vignettes for frames or matting and layering dies. Carnation do. So it's up to you whether you use the vignettes or not, but they're there if you want them. And the artwork is superb. The detail in it, incredible.
Look at that. I mean, already, without even sticking that down, you can see already how the pretty starts to come together.
I loved earlier on when you said this to you is like the symbol of infinity.
Yeah.
No beginning, no end. I love that.
Well, especially with it being a sympathy collection, I think that's important. But look at that shadow.
Yeah.
So a little bit of foam tape played with in different ways allows us to explore how far we can take the vignettes, what the meaning behind that would be with as far as shadow play is concerned, and also with texture and dimension. So if you are using foam tape, like you've seen here, I've got it underneath this section, as well as on the inside. I don't need it on these pieces. Once it's stuck, it's stuck. To be honest, you could put a little piece of foam tape in the center here and not add any more. The reason we do add the other bits is that so we don't get any sort of sinking in any area. We keep it supported all the way underneath, almost like it's a board.
Hi to Serenity Soul in
Hey,
Pennsylvania.
Serenity.
Hi Serenity, nice to know you're watching. Lots of viewers in America.
So this is obviously the inside of my card, the outside, and I'm keeping this in landscape rather than portrait because I want to play with those shapes. But there are options here and we can do it in different ways. So it depends what you want to achieve. I'm just going to take this big sentiment that I've got here. Now, if I lay this down in the middle, I'll be totally honest with you, there's not an awful lot left that I need to do on that card.
No.
There's so many people in the group who say I would never be able to make cards like you guys make cards. Well, you know, of course you can. That is about as basic as it is. There's not much to that at all. And that is a really beautiful card. It says everything it needs to say. You don't need to be excessive with it.
Though you say that's basic, it doesn't look it, does
Oh
it?
God, no, that's the thing. You can't make a bad card with Carnation.
No.
So what I'm going to do is actually have that in the centre. This way I just want to play with it in landscape instead of playing with it in portrait because you've seen it in portrait this morning. Now mine won't be staying completely in the centre, I don't think. It depends how I decide to work up my bits and pieces, but I'll bring them all over. I was talking to you earlier about mirrored vignettes and how they work. So the fact that we get 2 for 1. So that is its original form. It would normally have that little corner edge here, but you can see I've just clipped that off. Now, because I can do the same with the others, so I've got 2 that are identical. I've got choices. What I can do is layer that up and make it a decoupage element. I could clip away, for instance, one of the wings and make that a decoupage element, or I can keep the whole together and just raise it. Or I can flip it over.
Perfect.
And I've got 2. Now normally with any die company you would only get it one way or the other. You wouldn't get the choice for both, but with Carnation obviously we can play whichever way we choose.
Or you'd have to buy 2 dies.
Or you'd have to buy 2 dies. So my options here are I can have it so that they are raising up. I can have it so they come down from the edge. I can do it so that they are completely central. It's entirely what you want to do and how you feel the most comfortable with that. I think what I'm going to do is move that down to the bottom, and then I am going to place those so that they are nearer in the center, and then I can start playing with that flourish at the top. So do you see how all of that changes just very simply on placement? Nothing much to it, it's just placement, and it makes a difference.
And you can have a play with that before committing to any glue or double-sided tape or anything like that. So you can move it around and see what works and what doesn't work. And then when you're happy, go in with the glue.
It's just simple comp. Do it in 4 different styles. Don't glue anything. Just, you know, put it together in 4 different styles. Take photos of each one. Walk away from the project. Go and look at the photos and decide which one works the best. And then you'll be able to work from there. Now, it's always important that we don't go further than that downside edge, because when it stands, what I don't want it to do is topple on here. So I'm just making sure that I am just above that lowest line, so placing it there, and that gives me room to sort of maneuver. What I'm going to do then is start building my bouquet in the center first before I place the doves, because I want the doves to sit on top of the bouquet, not to be hidden behind it. So I work from I'm always processing whenever I'm sorting out demos, whenever I'm doing cards myself. I'm always processing. If I make the next step, it's like a chess move. If I make the next step, is it going to ruin the 2 steps later?
Yeah.
So I work backwards in that way, and it's the best way I've found to do it. And
don't forget all the other additional accessories you may want to go for today. We've got the everyday glue adapters in the show as well, or on the website. Have a little look at...
If you're buying anything other than the main collections today, I would say to you the best thing that you can pop in your basket is the perfect papers.
Yeah.
Because honestly, they're so gorgeous with this collection.
And it's the icing on the cake, isn't it, when you've got the cardstock that actually complements all the artwork that you're loving today. Yeah, for the sake of $14.99, and you've got a lot in there, 48 sheets. That's going to be the finishing touch, really.
The colours are stunning.
Yeah.
Now, as somebody who likes to work with symmetry, I got to tell you, this is the perfect way to do it because I've got my lines to follow. So I can play and follow those lines just really prettily. So I'm just drawing those out. Look, it's so gorgeous. Right, then I'm going to go in with these whiter florals. Now these are going to be partly hidden by the dove. I'm okay with that. I'm actually okay if they pretty much fully get covered. I like to know that I've got the bulk. Now if that does get covered afterwards, that's not a problem. However, if there is a space at the end, and there should have been something there, it's harder to tuck them in. So I'm okay with covering up some of my vignettes. That's not a problem. I'll just go through. Look at the prettiness.
It's gorgeous, isn't it? It's coming together beautifully.
See how we start to build?
Yep.
How we're starting to get that sort of, that presentation coming together, and that's what we're always looking for. Then I've got the beautiful lilies. Notice how I'm keeping all of these flat. I'm not shaping anything out at this point. I'm tucking in all the time. And I just...
But equally, if you wanted your flowers to have movement, you could, of course, put some twine or something like that through the actual loop.
Absolutely. There's loads of stuff you can do with these charm ones because they're so sweet. They would make the cutest little tags for presents, though.
Yeah, they would.
Just as little charms. Just coming through, just making sure I've got that roughly.
And maybe on a ring box or a pendant box or something like that. Very nice.
Super sweet. Then I'm going to take the rose. I want that pop of colour. Not too much. We're doing a sympathy card, but I want the pop. So I'm just going to work from the outside edge, break my fibres through my paper. Keep going, always on the outside first. Once we've got that broken, then I can start to manoeuvre towards the centre without creasing, damaging or compromising the paper in any way. So I go to the centre and I start to get that gorgeous curvature. So I've got that bowl shape that's coming there. Can you just see that? Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Then I'm going to fill that bowl shape and I'm going to fill it quite heavily with pin flare. I want my pin flare to sit higher than the edge of that rose. So if I turn that on the overhead, just there, you can see that that is higher than that shape. That means it's going to sit really proud with some room for sinkage.
And when that dries, that will be absolutely solid.
Now just to take away from some of the symmetry, I'm placing that rose so that the bud is facing that way. And that's, I could have placed it so it's straight up, but I quite like the idea that now we flow the movement into a certain direction, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the wee doves and just place them round. Now obviously I've got one working either way, so it's if you see what I mean, one's back to front. So I'm going to work from one on the back and one on the front so that I know I've got them the right way. So this one I'm going to go in, I've got a large expanse with the wing, but where you can see you've got the 3 layers, there are breaking points in that paper, so I can work with them separately. I'm using this size ball tool, and I'm just going to work on each layer just very gently, and then I will swap ends on my ball tool and go in with the smaller one, and that's just because I'm destroying the fibres here, and then I will really start to manipulate them through. And the main points that I'm going to work on are towards the body.
And the difference it makes, it kind of animates the bird, it makes it really kind of jump off the page.
It's just about manipulating it, that's all, and it just gives this really gorgeous, beautiful effect that we're going through. And I'm just working those. Then I'll work the little tail feathers.
Shake your tail feather.
And then
it's been a while.
His tummy. So I'm going to come in with his tummy. I'm going to ignore the top part because I've already done the wings. So I'm just going to work through that tum and bring it forward. Now I'm going to do the same with the other side, but this time I'm doing it on the front of that vignette. So the same thing. I work with the larger one here, break those fibres down.
Hi to Suzanne Page, who
Hey,
says,
Suzanne.
hi Carla, Dave and Miss Taz from a very rainy Bognor Regis. Yeah, my other half's on the way to Gatwick at the moment. Awful weather.
Honestly.
Stay indoors, keep us company.
Yesterday was just, I went on the A1, man alive. I thought I was going to have to stop at one point and get out of the car because it was that bad.
Torrential.
Yeah, nobody was driving. At one point we were all going at about 20 miles an hour. It was crazy. Right, just working his tummy through. And then those little tail feathers. So I've got both of those now very curved. So what I'm going to, it's too curved. Like if I was to put that down on a card, it's going to look almost ridiculous. You know, we take it too far. So we're looking for the breaking point in the card in order to be able to bring that paper back forward. And so I'm just going to pull it forward, just there. And the same with those feathers. What that then does is allow it to come forward and protrude back. And that's going to be the same on this one
Stunning.
as well.
The difference, what you're doing to the dove, it makes absolutely massive difference.
It just allows that flight to take place where he is obviously in flight. And I'm just going to place a little bit of pin flare here, not much on his body. This wing is curved, and in order to keep that curvature, I'm going to place a lot more here. And that's going to allow him to sit proud. And I'm just going to place him upright with that wing down. There. Isn't that pretty?
Beautiful.
Same thing again on this side. So where I've got that curvature, a little bit there, and then more on his wing to keep it upright. Make sure I've got it roughly in the same place at this side, with those wings just curving over the top. And there's something so incredibly peaceful and beautiful about that card.
Amazing.
How pretty it is.
Absolutely gorgeous. Now, maybe you are a brand new viewer to Carnation Crafts TV. If you are, welcome. You've probably seen Carnation on other channels, that sort of thing. Well, this is our own dedicated TV channel that we started a few months ago now. And there are lots of shows to look out for, not just the ones that I'm on with, but once a month we launch a brand new collection that no one else has seen and won't see for a while. And that's what this is. So we've basically got here the Held in Our Hearts collection. You've got all of these dies that you can see on the screen as well. But also what is so good about what we've got here today, you can either go for the main collection on its own, or you can go for the main collection with the nesting dies with that wonderful Hessian. It's absolutely exquisite and gorgeous. So you can either go for one or the other, or both of them together with the perfect papers as well, and you can choose how you want to pay. You can either pay in full, or you can pay using, of course, ClearPay, which is up to 4 interest-free payments. That will be £55.12 your first payment today. That's if you are going to go for all of it. And if you're paying with PayPal Pay in 3, that will be £73.49 your first payment today. And remember, don't order it without putting the discount code in, the promo code. It's HIOH, all letters, and then the number 10. Okay, HIOH 10. That will give you £24.50 off that combined purchase of all three. If you just want the In Our Hearts collection at the top there, that will give you a £10 discount basically, and that will take it down then to £89.99 if you just want that on its own, but it's entirely up to you. I just want to quickly show you the cards that Carla did in the last hour. You can watch that back. That was at 9 AM UK time, and it is on YouTube, and you can watch it of course on our website I believe as well after it's gone out. That was one of the cards, and this is one of the other cards that Carla did as well, which is absolutely lovely. And I've got to show you these two because to my mind the butterflies make this collection worthwhile in its own right. I love it. 2 doves, one going left, one going right, and that wonderful actual butterfly design there. And that's, remember, a template that you can print off again free of charge, and you can have those, I don't know, what do you call a selection of butterflies? Is it got a name? Is it a flitting of butterflies? Or?
Kaleidoscope.
Oh, is it? Oh, thanks, Taz. Kaleidoscope of butterflies, didn't realise that. So if you fancy having that shaped kaleidoscope, then again, all that's been done, you print off the template, which is very faintly printed, and it shows you where to actually put your butterflies. You get all the dies to cut those out as well. Quickly, a couple more cards. Janine Dawson's done this one. The design team have obviously had an absolute joyous time using these dies and this artwork as well. And
Best design team in the industry.
absolutely. And although we're talking in some cases about sympathy, the doves can be a symbol of love for weddings and that sort of thing as well. And it's only really the verses that have got the sympathy angle. The rest of the collection you can use to great effect for all sorts of things during the year. So it's 221101 if you want the Held in Our Hearts. We're going to take a short break and go and have some lunch, and we'll be back at 2 o'clock this afternoon with lots more demos from Carla and myself and Taz too. So enjoy your lunch break, and I think we are
Aye.
charcuterie.
Charcuterie.
See you in about an hour and 15 minutes.